Oh man, so Bitcoin has shed some more weight today as markets continue to be nervy. We've got a big week this week. We've got Jerome Powell speaking and a bunch of other Fed officials. So a lot to look out for this week, and we're back below $20,000. In this live stream today, we're doing stuff slightly differently today. I'll be going through the key levels in the charts, and plus you guys can ask me your questions. If you want to look at a certain token, if you want to ask me a question, put it in the chat and we'll get to that after I've gone through the Bitcoin chat. Don't forget to smash up the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, check out the links below to BYBIT and BitGet. Right, let's get straight to the charts. As we can see here, guys, we're in this consolidation pattern again. Bitcoin falling back below 20,000, another 1% down today. We did get the weekly candle close green, but as you can see here, when I sit here on the daily chart, you can see we've fallen out of this bearish pattern, which is a rising wedge, as expected. We built some support from pivot point 1 here, as you can see, and then we fell again. We built some support around the 20,000 level, and now we need to look for the next move to the downside. Will that take us to that 18,600 range here, which brings you from this support here, and then later, maybe back down to the bottom of the wedge, back at those lows of 17,600. The pattern doesn't look great, but we have to pay respect to the bears. They're in control right now, and the trend, as you can see, if I bring out the EMA ribbon, we are well below it, and it's all based on macroeconomic fears. It continues to be the same trend as we've seen from the majority of this year. The markets will not take permission to run to the upside until we see convincing evidence that Jerome Powell, that the Fed are ready to rotate, ready to pivot away from being tightening into a more loosening and accommodative stance. But I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. We had one CPI reading come to the downside. We were backed up with the PCE inflation coming to the downside, but Jerome Powell wants to see consistent readings of CPI coming down. So we need to see that happen. We've got a CPI reading coming, I think on the September the 13th, and then 21st of this month is when we get our next FOMC meeting. This is September the 21st. And as you can see, 61% of the market has now priced in 75 basis point rate hike. Okay, so this is changing every single day. But now the majority of the market is pricing in that 75 basis point again. Remember, when we were seeing that brief rally, that was because Jerome Powell came out in July and gave a few positive comments, right? He came across a bit dovish, and that's why the market started to have a brief summer rally. But last week, he came and he put us back in our box and said, look, guys, you need to calm down. You can't go to the moon right now. I need to bring inflation under control. So markets continue to remain nervy. We continue to remain risk off. If I show you the major indices today, Dow Jones down 1%. You've got the S&P down 1.07%. You've got the Nasdaq down 1.31%. Mike, good to see you in the chat, buddy. Hope you are really well from Brussels. Nasdaq down 1.3% as well. Okay, so that's what we're looking out for here today. You can see here in the UK, if you guys want to send me your condolences and apologies in the chat, we've got Liz Truss as our new Prime Minister. We'll just leave it at that, right? I guess it can't get much worse than what we had, but it is what it is. Coinmaster, good to see you again. Victor, good to see you, buddy. Hope you are doing well. Okay, so that was the Fed rate monitor. Fear and greed index sitting at 23. Market is pretty fearful, right? We're still in extreme fear. It's understood, but that's when, that's when I'm personally doing my buying. I like to see that in this range. I've been for enough cycles where I've seen what happens when it gets green. Yes, it's fun to look at your portfolio and it's all nice and green up, but when is the time to build wealth? It's when you're in extreme fear. It's when it's not fun. It's when there's blood on the street. That's when you want to get to work. Now, let's get onto the Fed calendar. We've got to look at the calendar this week. We've got a few interesting bits and pieces coming up, which I want to flick through with you. First, you get your ISM reading tomorrow, okay? So we'll look out for that. Not huge shakes, but we will pay attention to that. Then you've got on, I believe it's Thursday. There we go. Thursday, you get your continuing jobless claims, but more importantly, you get Fed Chairman Jerome Powell speaking at 1:10. So we will be listening out for that. You've also got the ECB's President Lagarde speech as well. No doubt that will move the European markets and could have some crossover into the US markets as well. There's a few other Fed officials speaking as well, including Fed's Waller on Friday and a few others. So we will be looking out for those. Ideally, we don't want the Fed to be speaking, but for whatever reason, they always have these scheduled appearances just to annoy us and throw the market back down to the downside. Now, here's what's interesting. We're seeing such weakness in the Bitcoin price. We're seeing such risk on tendencies in the market. But Bitcoin has never been stronger than it is right now. I mean, let's take a look at this, guys. Bitcoin hash rate continues to get stronger and stronger. And this is what people fail to understand. When you're speaking to somebody who's perhaps new into crypto, or maybe a relative or a colleague at work or a sibling or whatever, and you're trying to explain to them Bitcoin, they always try to ask, yeah, but how do you value it? How do you understand what the network is? If you had billions of dollars, if I gave you billions of dollars, you could not replicate what's going on in Bitcoin right now. The hash rate shows you the combined strength of that computational power, and it's just moving from strength to strength. Look at this uptrend here. We're seeing good strength in the hash rate, reminding us that this network, the value of this Bitcoin network, is the combined value of all the people, all the validators doing proof of work on the network and mining for the blocks to get the emission rewards. Okay, so this continues to remind us this network is growing in value, and it's just a matter of time before the price picks up. So remember when I would say, okay, if you're invested in an altcoin, but the whole market's down, Bitcoin's down, every altcoin's down, and your altcoin's down, it's not an indictment on your favorite altcoin. Right now, when the market is down, everything is down. Tesla's down, risk stocks are down, everything is down. It's not an indictment on Bitcoin that Bitcoin is down, okay? Because the fundamentals are showing good improvement to the upside. And just to kind of zoom out, and I think it's useful to do this sometimes when looking and reminding yourself about your thesis. One of the things I talk about a lot is having conviction, right? When we're going down, we're seeing Bitcoin, and it could potentially, maybe go test lows at 17,600. What gives me the confidence to say, you know what? Not only am I going to navigate through this, but I want to buy some more. I'm going to take out my wallet and buy some more, even though we're 80% plus from all-time highs. What helps me do that? Well, I look at the offering. I look at the offering of Bitcoin, and I look at the alternatives, and I go, hang on a second. It just makes sense, right? It's like you're investing in a company, or you're buying some real estate or whatever. You just look at the deal, you package it together, you go, that just makes sense. That's why I have so much conviction in that. And let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at gold and fiat and try to compare it to Bitcoin to see which parameters are we not meeting. So is it scarce? We know fiat currency is scarce, right? Part of the reason we're in all of this pain in terms of inflation is because the money printer keeps on going. Yes, gold is scarce, and that's why it's held up well. And of course, Bitcoin is super scarce. Now, not only is Bitcoin scarce, I feel like it's diminishing as well because people are losing their keys all the time. So you've got this diminishing scarcity, which makes it even more scarce with time as keys get lost forever, right? So not only are you capped to 21 million, but those are being lost forever as well. Then you want to look at, is it divisible? Now, gold is super hard to divide, right? Have you ever tried taking a piece of gold bar? If I said I want 0.0001 cents worth of gold, can't do it, right? You can't do it. Okay, so it's not divisible. Now, this graphic here has got a tick for fiat currency to say it's divisible, but really, it's not super divisible. It's divisible up to, a penny, right? But can you get less than a penny? Realistically, not, right? So nobody, even a penny, you just let the cashier keep it. So really, it's just up to the dollar or up to the pound is your rounding, right? So it's not super divisible. Now, with gold, absolutely not divisible, and then Bitcoin, super divisible, right? Down to the Satoshi level, you can transfer. So as the value of the network increases and you hold one Satoshi, you can transact in a Satoshi. So it's extremely divisible. Portable, have you ever tried, can you carry around $1 million worth of gold with you? No, that's one of the reasons fiat currency came about. But even nowadays, carrying fiat currency is one, not safe. Would you walk around with $1 million cash right now? Depending on where you are, unlikely, right? Particularly not here in London. You wouldn't want to do that, which is why loads of people don't wear their fancy watches here in London. But with Bitcoin, if you've got your seed phrase, it's in your head, it's super portable, lightweight, no weight, right? If you remember your seed phrase, you can access it wherever you want in the world. Then let's look at censorship. Is fiat currency censorship resistant? Is gold censorship resistant? Absolutely not. It's proven itself historically. If it wants to be seized, it can be seized and censored. And Bitcoin cannot be, right? No, it's permissionless. Anybody can read and write to the network, and nobody can say, oh, XYZ class of people cannot use Bitcoin. Now, let's move on to the next point, which is durability, right? Gold is, of course, durable, right? Very, very strong and durable. It's stood the test of time, and it's extremely durable. Fiat currency, not at all, right? Extremely weak. As and when governments come into power, they bring new fiat currency. I think the average fiat currency lasts about 100 years. But they're very feeble compared to something like gold, which has been around for a very long time. Bitcoin, very durable, right? It can sustain tax. In the last 12 years, it's sustained every single tax that it's faced. So it's building itself a good record of durability. Okay, then you've got verifiable. None of the others are. Gold and fiat not verifiable. Bitcoin is on the ledger with mathematical certainty of what happened. Okay, when there's fraudulent activity going on in fiat currency, you and I would never know about it. Similarly with gold, there are transactions going on a day-to-day basis with gold, which we do not know about. With Bitcoin, transparency is there. You can see what's going on. It's on the ledger. And then last, the weakness of Bitcoin, which is what we're working on right now, which is getting that established history, right? And that's where gold is ahead. Gold has that established history, and the Bitcoin network is working on that as we speak. Guys, don't forget to smash up the like button and subscribe. Now, what else do we want to look at? We also want to look at the percent of supply last active 1+ year ago. And this is really starting to get interesting now, because if I just zoom into the top corner, you can see here we're really starting to climb here and get to new highs here in terms of percent of the total supply, which was last active over a year ago, okay? So that is showing that the coins are distributing across to more hodler-orientated mindset people. The people who are starting to get hold of these coins now at the 19,000, 20,000 price point, they're not interested in the price goes down to 17, 18. If anything, they're more likely to buy more. These are people who want to be holding Bitcoin back up to all-time highs and beyond. So these are hodlers. The ones who wanted to sell, the ones who held it from 69,000 downwards, they've sold to new hands right now. And we've seen that. We've looked at the on-chain metrics every single week together. And we've seen that distribution start to take place, okay? So we're seeing that progress here in the Bitcoin chart. So overall, we're still in nervy markets, right? You can see it here on the mainstream markets. We're super, super nervous, and we're on a slide for the 3rd week in a row. And the reality is, none of this is going to get better until we see regular improvements in the CPI reading, and then Jerome Powell start to show happiness around CPI easing and possibly talking about a pause. That's when we saw that rally, because Jerome Powell came out dovish, and the markets just assumed he was going to go and do a 50 basis point rate hike. But after he spoke, the market's been straight back in line. They understand he continues to be in business, and that was the only thing that was going to allow us to rally. Okay, coming back into the Bitcoin chart, let's take a quick look here on the symmetrical triangle which we were monitoring. And you can see here on the symmetrical triangle, we were taking a look at this triangle here. Let me just go into the 4-hourly chart to make this a little bit clearer for you guys. And it's just showing good strength, right? We've not actually broken down in any region here. We've got slight higher highs and we've got our lower highs. So we still are coming towards an apex. Yes, I could adjust my lines. I explained to you in the last video why I don't adjust my lines. It's not good habit to keep adjusting your lines every time a new candle is printed, but you could arguably create more of an apex later on here. But the pattern is the same. We're creating lower highs, lower highs, yep, and higher lows coming to an apex. So at some point, Bitcoin needs to decide on its direction. If I bring out the EMA ribbon, you can see it's acting as resistance from above. We're running into our EMA ribbon. If I bring out the VPVR, you can see we're right at that point of control, right? That point of control is right around this 20,000 level, which is why we keep spending time above it and then back below it, slightly above it and then below it. But where's our next big move going to be? My bet is on the downside, right? Right now, the macroeconomy is not showing great news. We fell from this pattern. We trended for a little bit here, fell. Trended for a little bit. Are we going to get that next move down to that 18,700 level? I've got my limit orders ready there to pick me up some more cheap Bitcoin. I'm prepared psychologically that I'm not going to panic sell. I know that I want to hold this crypto. I've just explained to you my thesis and part of my thesis around why I believe in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a whole. Let's also bring out the Bollinger Band. And here on the 4-hourly chart, you can see we're just coming into this Bollinger Band. But what's important to note is whenever you see the Bollinger Bands constrict, see this period here where it constricted? What did we get after it? Big move. Okay, now I'm worried about it again. We're getting this constriction, but remember, the longer it constricts, normally the bigger the move to the downside. And we've been consolidating here for a while, which shows that there's a lot of pent-up energy in this period here, which needs to decide on a direction. Now, the recovery path is, can we work our way up to 22,000 at the top of the channel? That's the way we need to go in terms of recovery, but that's not going to happen if the markets are not feeling positive. And right now, what on the horizon is going to make markets feel happy? I can't think of anything positive, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's in terms of the macroeconomy, even the jobs figure, which was pretty decent last Friday. The markets were not bothered, right? It had a little run up. I warned in the video that it's going to fall to the downside, and we headed back to the downside. So great time for us not to panic, not to get super excited. It's a painful time. There's no tourists in the market, but what a great time to be picking up crypto at price points last seen 4 to 5 years ago. Insane opportunity. Right, let's head on straight over to the comment section as promised, and let's see what you guys have in terms of some questions for me. Tamakti goes, crypto-friendly Liz Truss. Yep, I mean, she's shown some tweets about being crypto-friendly, but please don't fall for that, guys. I mean, if we know anything, is that politicians will say anything they need to say in order to get elected. Let's see what they actually do in terms of their priorities. Gary Gensler is a great example, the chairman of the SEC. You know, everybody thought he was going to be super crypto-friendly, but he's been the bane in our proverbial for a very long time. So I wouldn't hold too much hope about that. particularly with her track record. Coinmaster, happy to be here. Good to see you, Martin. Hello again. Good to see you, buddy. Shazad, thanks for the excellent explanations, relevant content. Appreciate you, JH. Do I believe there's significant risk of any further crypto disasters, example, exchanges, stablecoins, etc., driven by the likely prolonged market stress at least into the latter part of 23? Very good question, JH. Yeah. So the reality around this is you've got to understand. So if the market remains depressed for quite a while, this puts more and more burden on companies and projects which are just about hanging on. Let me give you the scenario. Let's say you've got a layer one solution or any other crypto project that's just about been hanging on, and they're just hoping that we get a bull market back again so they could start to get a little bit more money in their coffers and some more runway. The longer we're in this market stress and the more we fall, if we go back to that 17,600 level, do not be surprised to see more companies, more projects struggling who come out. I still think there's a bunch of contagion effect from Terra Luna, from 3 Arrows Capital that we've not seen the end of just yet. So definitely I would be very, very careful. Now, obviously, we've spoken about stablecoins to death here. I cannot warn against stablecoins enough. Please, 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 guys, make sure you diversify as much as possible. Only use them when you need to be. Right now, I'm not yield farming. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm holding my keys, holding my coins, and I just want to get through the bear market. And if I can accumulate more, I can accumulate more. Now, when we're in a bull market, you're going to hear a bunch of fancy things, right? We're going to do some yield farming. We're going to do some staking. We're going to find this creative way of generating some more passive income. Right now is not the time. I'm not going to send you on a merry-go-round to try and get 5% extra yield on a staking platform, but then potentially lose all your funds because a company goes bust, right? We need to avoid that. We need to hold on to our coins, and we need to get through this bear market. Good question, JH. Chua, hello everybody. Good to see you. Calculated functionality. Good to see you again, buddy. Yep, let's take a look at Phantom. Phantom, obviously getting a big hit here today, guys. We're seeing Phantom falling all the way here down to 26 cents. I spoke about this yesterday. We're in this wedge. No doubt we were going to get rejected. It happened exactly as we said. And do not be surprised to see if this really wants to come down a little bit more. Again, the reason we're not falling hugely is because Bitcoin's not got a huge fall. It's falling 1%. If that continues to fall, then we'll need to monitor that to the downside, because if we lose this level here, in fact, let me show you on another chart. It'll be a little bit clearer here. I'll show you on this chart here. So if we start falling, then you want to start looking at these lower price points, okay? So you'll see that our next support is not coming in until 24, but that's going to require Bitcoin to well and truly lose that 20K level. At the moment, you're still seeing Bitcoin hover around that 20,000 level, which is why Phantom's holding this 26, 27 cent range okay. But if Bitcoin loses that level, you will see Phantom start to fall to some of those levels. So definitely an opportunity for me to maybe set some limit orders around that 24 cent mark. Again, that ties in with this pivot point here, where you see a lot of support coming in that level. So that is what I'll be prepared for. If Bitcoin goes down to 17,600 again, then we've got to bring in these nasty levels back again of 19 cents, 18 cents, and potentially even going to test down to our support level of 15 if things get particularly nasty. Now, the reason I mention that is if you don't have conviction and you're holding a coin which you're not going to be happy if it comes out to 15 cents and you're sitting at 27 cents right now, that's still a long way to go, right, in terms of percentage. So you need to ask yourself, is that something you're comfortable with? And if not, what are you going to do to remedy the issue there? Keelian says, personally, I think Phantom is going to 20 cents. Very, very realistic. Very realistic for it to get to 24 and then below it to the bottom of the wedge at 20. Those are the first two levels immediately on my head that if I was not comfortable with it, I would not be holding right now, right? Because I'm super comfortable and I know that I'll be nibbling some more. I need to make sure that I don't go super overweight on Phantom. It's a small part of my layer one section of my portfolio. It's high risk. High risk, high reward, but definitely something I want to be holding. Now, if you've not watched my Polygon video from earlier, make sure you go watch that video. I'm not going to cover Polygon Matic here because I've done that in detail in that video earlier, but Phantom's a different proposition to that, right? Phantom's going to be higher risk, but much higher reward. Polygon is far more stable. It's one of my DCA projects, right? Safe, go-to. I call it like almost like a blue chip. I don't feel any qualms dollar cost averaging into things like DOT, Chainlink, and Matic. I just dollar cost average into them, and I just want to hold for a long period of time. So you guys have seen, since we've been making videos for over a year now, I've been dollar cost averaging on Matic, and I was obviously doing that well before I started making videos as well.Caffeinated functionality is DCAing. Lefty, thoughts, price movement on Coty with the Vassal fork incoming. Yes, let's take a look at Coty together. So with Coty, you're down 2.4% as expected, but let's not focus too much here on price. What we do want to focus on with Coty is the Vassal hard fork. So like you're saying, on 22nd of this month, apparently we're expecting the Vassal hard fork to take place. Okay, so we will look out for that. And if that does happen and Cardano gets a successful move to the upside, you can indeed expect a solidarity move on COTI. So again, when I hold COTI, I'm holding COTI knowing it's a correlated asset to Cardano. So if I was going to allocate, let's say, $1,000 to Cardano, I've put a portion of that, no more than $100, into COTI. In fact, it's probably a little bit less when I do the maths. It's a little bit less than that, okay? So it's a portion of my Cardano portfolio. I've not gone and taken extra funds from another part of my portfolio to put into COTI. I've just put it as a part of my Cardano position that can move faster than Cardano to the upside, but can fall faster than Cardano to the downside as well. It's a low market cap project, extremely volatile. If Vassal hard fork does not go well, or there's some bugs, or there's some issues, it could fall as well. It can fall much harder than Cardano as well. So you need to be careful here of playing that move. In terms of a long-term hold, if you believe in COTI, then go ahead and add it. I've made a couple of videos on COTI on the channel before, but understand it's a high risk proposition. They're also working on their JED stablecoin as well, which is going to be the official algorithmically backed stablecoin on the Cardano network. So it's going to be used for the gas payments as well. So a lot of positive things going for COTI, but they've got a lot more work to do as well. They're still early in the game. Thoughts on Cosmos? Yes, Cosmos has done really, really well. I've been really impressed by Cosmos. If you watch my video on the Polygon Matic one, I gave Cosmos a shout out as well. Outside of Matic, Cosmos Atom is the only other project that has really outperformed Bitcoin here recently. So it's done really, really well. I mean, if you look at this here on the daily chart, from bottoming out here on 19th of June, it's had a nice upward trend. I mean, if you connected those dots, that's a really nice upward trend compared to, let's say, another project, right? We were just looking at Phantom and it was going in the other direction. So Cosmos really doing well. This is how Phantom's doing. And you compare that there to Cosmos. Nice, strong uptrend, good relative strength, which is always, always a good sign in terms of something you want to be adding to your bag. I think it's a good platform. Again, I made plenty of videos on the channel. If you've not watched my, I did a breakdown of Polkadot versus Atom. Really interesting video, actually. So go check that one out and you'll get a good understanding of what makes up Cosmos Atom versus Polkadot. If I bring out the EMA ribbon, this is where you're seeing the strength, right? You're above your EMA ribbon and you're showing strength right now. So coins which are showing strength in this market, it's insane because you can only extrapolate and think, how will they do in a positive market? How are they managing to show such good strength here on top of its EMA ribbon when many other coins are in a steep downward trend far away from its daily EMA ribbon, right? So really good strength there. JH, you ever thought of setting up a crypto hedge fund? Possibly something we could do in the future. Thoughts on Atom and how well? Yeah, we've done Atom. Good. Okay, let's also take a look at Cardano. Again, Vassal hard fork coming up. Cardano for me is just huge risk to reward right now. I mean, if we zoom out here and look at how suppressed this price point is, I mean, crazy. I mean, I'm just going to go into the weekly here so you can see it. Let's get a cleaner chart here. I mean, look at that. Look at that there on ADA. Look at the price points you're buying in at. Look how much progress they made. In this whole period, a lot of people are arguing the whole thesis on the upward trend was that the valuation of Cardano kept climbing, but they weren't achieving anything. But now, where are those same haters, right? Cardano's achieving loads here, and the price just got plummeted. So for me, huge risk to reward here, because I was even happy buying in around these midpoints. And now definitely something I want to be adding actively more on here on Cardano. I mean, the risk to reward, even if it just bounced back to $2 here, which is its Fibonacci ratio, hugely comfortable risk to reward. And even beyond that, I comfortably think it will get back to all-time highs. And if you look at your Fibonacci extension, $5 Cardano is super conservative, in my opinion. Please do your own research. But again, I'm a fan of Cardano. I think they've done good work. They're very disciplined. They're very methodical, extremely well peer-reviewed. Yes, they move slowly, but I don't want every project in my portfolio to be a nutcase, fast-moving. I mean, I've got Solana, right? And it pains me at times to see how many mistakes they make. And that's why I struggle to add more Solana. I want a project that's going to move slow, be methodical. That's a good part of my portfolio. It lets me sleep well at night. Whereas a project like Solana, I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning if they've been hacked or something like that. So it's a far more stressful project to hold. Would I buy ADA now? If I was not allocated in ADA, I personally would be nibbling now. Yes, there could be some more downside. We've just explained that Bitcoin could be falling back down to 17,600. I've maintained that for quite a while, looking at the on-chain metrics as well. But that would not stop me from nibbling. You guys know what I'm like, right? I'd rather have it in my hand than leave it in the bush, right? So it's really important that I go accumulate. Even if I'm paying a little bit more, I'll nibble. I'm not going to go all in. If I had 10,000 to put into Cardano, you know that's my favorite number, then I would be nibbling into it right now. I'd split it into 10 buys. Again, use whatever number you're comfortable with. I'd just be nibbling a little bit now. Put one portion in, give it a couple of days, put another portion in, give it a couple of days, see if we fall. You know, not everything has to be binary. You don't have to be in Cardano or out of Cardano completely. As your conviction builds, top yourself up some more. Same with your other favorite altcoins. Okay, so any other questions from you guys? Feel free to put those in the chat. Again, really important. We covered the non-farm payrolls extensively last week, but just to remind you guys, it did come down, right? We did see that inclination down, which is good news. It was around expectations, which is why I felt the market wasn't going to get too excited. Yes, it did come down, but it was telegraphed. The market understood that. If it came in at 200, 150, something crazy like that, then you can get a crazy rally. But we were not going to get that. The market knows Jerome Powell's going to go and do 75 basis points. That's priced in, but it's not hugely priced in. It's 61% priced in. I mean, this needs to go up to 80, 90% priced in the closer we get to the meeting, right? So it'll be interesting to see what Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says later this week. We'll listen out for that as well to see if that affects this ratio, because if he comes out hawkish and strong again, the market will just top this up a little bit more. It'll go to 70%, 75%. If he comes out dovish, which I just cannot see him doing, then the market will get a little bit of green. But again, for me, I'm playing the long game. I'm super patient. I'm sitting back, making sure I'm happy with my portfolio, picking my favorite altcoins, finding points where I want to allocate. If I'm short on ADA, I'm setting my limit orders. If I'm short on Avalanche, I'm setting my limit orders, and I'm just sniping those purchases just to make sure I'm happy with my portfolio. At this point, depending on when you enter the market, you know we've been in this for a long time. So, you know, we've been in this bear market for a long time, and I've had plenty of time to accumulate. I'm just looking and making sure I'm double checking, triple checking my homework, just to make sure that when this gets ready to move to the upside, I'm not going to have any of those regrets, right? That's what it's going to come down to. What are those regrets? Now, the other thing I'm doing in this market is I'm making sure I'm taking the time to educate myself on the things I won't get time to educate myself on in the bull market. When the bull market does come, for those of you who aren't experienced, it comes very quickly. So all those narratives, all those things, learn them now. Listen to that CEO talk. Listen to the founding team of a project. Understand what is the difference between a Polkadot and a Matic. Go understand, you know, what is technical analysis. And again, if you want access to my free course, link is in the description. Go watch my whole technical analysis course for free. It doesn't cost you a penny. What are the influencers giving it to you for free, guys? That's well worth over thousands of dollars. Please pretend like you paid thousands. Go watch it as if you did, and you won't regret it. Learn what EMA ribbons are. Learn what Fibonacci is. Learn how to use the Bollinger Band. Learn what the patterns are. Learn how to interpret these Japanese candlesticks on a day-to-day basis, which are the tools you're going to need in a bull market. If you miss this bull market, you're waiting for another 4 years. So just take that time to learn that knowledge today. It's going to cost you a penny. Cool. Guys, we'll wrap that up here. Thank you for just sharing your questions. If you have any further questions, feel free to jump into our Discord, ijaz.uk/Discord. Completely free, completely public. You guys know how it is by now. Jump into there. Let us know your thoughts. Tag me in any questions, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks for watching this video. Go watch the Polygon Matic video here,